It's Friday, December 9th. Let's talk PlayStation. Alright, so yeah, PlayStation Experience is over. We're not really going to talk about that here. If you didn't see it already, check out my impressions video of PlayStation Experience. That's where I actually acknowledge what happened there, like The Last of Us 2, or that Crash Bandicoot footage, or Knack 2. Actually, I don't even think I mentioned Knack 2 in that impressions video. Amazing, that's how forgettable Knack really is, and the fact that it's actually getting a sequel, that's still kind of shocking to me. But that was actually a rumor for a while too, so I guess not totally surprising. But yes, no, the dust has settled for PSX, so we're not really going to talk about that here. Disconnected. So what we will do is talk about the other things that happened throughout the week, throughout the world of PlayStation. Like the very pressing news story that I have to get to you guys right now if you didn't know about it already. PS4 firmware 4.07 available right now, and it improves the quality of your system performance. So obviously Sony is deeming your PS4 not nearly as good as it could be, so please download that update and make sure your software stability and improvement in system quality is at its peak performance. And going from one ridiculously stupid news story to the next, this isn't really like totally PlayStation related, but I figured, hey, let's talk about it. So if you didn't already know, we talked about it maybe a few months ago, or however long it was kind of recent when Sony did this, but they formed a new studio called Forward Works a while back, and this developer is strictly for mobile development, just mobile games. This is Sony's dip into mobile games. They're one little developer that'll be toiling away at like just strictly mobile stuff. So we have information on that now. That's going to be April 2017 in strictly Japan is when they're going to be starting some, releasing some games on mobile. They're doing PlayStation IP like Parappa the Rapper, Hot Shots Golf. And one other interesting thing that came out this week was that Sony and ForwardWorks are working on this new little initiative with card games. So basically, they're doing this thing called Project Field, which is kind of a whole like overarching like device that's going to connect with like phones and tablets. It's like this like sheet of like it's a device, right? And you put cards on it, and you can it tracks the card's position, so you can tilt it sideways and forward and whatnot, and it's going to pick that up, and it can talk to the devices and kind of display information about the card game and whatnot. Very cool early technology. They're supporting just one title they're supporting one title at first, and I'm sure this is something that Sony would probably want to turn into a much bigger thing, but very early stages. I don't know. Sometimes people like to talk about the mobile space, and obviously there's a lot of negativity there, rightfully so. Mobile games kind of suck ass. At least, we kind of always think that. But there's plenty of money to be made there. Sony's a corporation. Clearly they're going to have some sort of involvement, so can't blame them. What we're really going to be talking about mostly is sales data. So a lot of sales stuff is coming out. It has come out this past week. So Shuhei Yoshida was actually talking about PS4 Pro sales. I thought I'd share some interesting quotes with you all. He said, yes, it's selling very well. We were hoping that people who purchased a PS4 day one would upgrade to PS4 Pro, and people who have a 4K TV would see it as their first console of choice. He said, we need more time to analyze the situation, but it seems that more people who are buying PS4 for the first time are choosing PS4 Pro. I think that's driving larger demand than we anticipated. In many markets, it's sold out and hard to find. Now, when discussing PlayStation VR, he didn't necessarily divulge any details about the sales data. The most he will say about PlayStation VR is that it is doing well for what they're kind of expecting. They're saying that it is sold out in most places, which kind of is hard to find now. He's happy with sort of the engagement with not only people, but what developers are doing with their games right now, and he's hoping it'll get better moving forward. What's interesting is about, when he was talking about PS4 Pro, and that for a lot of people that are buying it first time, they're, choosing PS4 Pro. And that is always kind of a thing that you can see in a lot of consumer electronics when you have sort of a base model, and then you have, higher spec or just better, versions, better tiers of the product, kind of takes me back to like 2006 with PlayStation 3, the 20 gigabyte PlayStation 3. Sony killed that off, not that long after the release of PlayStation 3 because there was just no demand for it. Believe it or not, even though it was, cheaper, a lot of times, even though, you have a lower price point, most consumers still want like the better choice. So the fact that Pro has come in and it's at a $400 price point, which is same price as PS4 at launch, it makes a lot of sense for people to just get that right away because it was obviously a price people were comfortable with paying back in 2013 for a PS4. Now you're getting the same price and better performance. And that's kind of what we always talked about with iterative consoles and how it's actually kind of a good thing. Though it is worth noting the regular PS4 is more than likely still taking up the mass volume of sales, and Sony will probably never really divulge specific PS4 Pro numbers. They'll more than likely, because it probably will be the point where PS4 Pro numbers will always be less than the regular PS4, and they'll always just group those numbers and give us, total PS4 life-to-date sales. So speaking of which, we'll go into our next news story. Sony had a very good Black Friday. They are saying it was like the best Black Friday in the history of PlayStation. And that goes into the next news story, kind of grouped the same thing. The huge sales milestone. PS4 is now at 50 million consoles sold worldwide. 50 million as of early December. So December 6th, I think they said. So that's a lot of consoles. Still, the rate of sale is still higher than PlayStation 3. Man, they're still doing very, very good. Actually, the other thing was that Sony actually did overtake Microsoft for November, so they did win that month back. We were talking about how Microsoft actually had won the previous 4 months for NPD, so Sony took this month, or November. I felt that Microsoft was probably going to hold that NPD lead for at least a few more months, definitely for November and December. I don't know, I just felt like they finally had some really good momentum going, and but then again, Sony did still also have their price drop, the Slim, the PS4 Pro, and PSVR. So they had a lot of momentum going into it too, obviously. But Microsoft's been just getting a lot of good press and stuff recently, and a lot of people. And that's the thing too, is that when you sell more PS4s, that means there's still tons of people that don't have Xboxes. So that is also another good thing that was going for Microsoft into the holiday season. Anyway, those are just some of the news stories I want to talk about with you guys this week. So as we mentioned earlier in the video, PlayStation experience, you'll see my impressions there. It's not even that super long of a video. Yeah, Knack 2. So yeah, I guess I didn't mention it in that video. Here's what I think about Knack 2. They showed the footage, right? It fucking looks like the first game. It looks completely the same, just obviously like new environments and new enemies. I've always said that I actually, somewhat enjoyed Knack 2. I didn't think it was a bad game by any stretch. I actually thought it was decent. And that's the most I really give it credit for. I think it was a decent game. So I've always felt that a Knack 2 would be, possible, just if they really did it right. And the footage they showed is it looks completely the same. I have literally zero fucking hope for Knack 2. I hate being that guy that would make a judgment call that quickly from one trailer in the game just recently being announced. But people obviously didn't like the first game to any sort of capacity. Nobody was asking for Knack 2, except maybe a few people that actually, thoroughly enjoyed the game, which is not that many people. Dude, I don't know how that game's going to do even remotely well, but I guess we'll see once it actually comes out. Anyway, that concludes this week's episode of Talk PlayStation. I'm R.I.P. Thank you all so much for talking with me, and I will see you guys next Friday.